Hi, this is Shauna, the CEO and founder of Fuel Talent. One of the things I have loved most in my 25-year recruiting career has always been the stories that people tell. Stories of leadership, career choices, company ideas, and team building. My inspiration for starting the What Fuels You podcast came from being curious about people's lives and wanting to help share their stories. What path brought them to this place? What decisions did they make that led to failures and successes? Who influenced those decisions, and what lessons were learned along the way? I hope you enjoy the What Fuels You podcast. On today's episode of the What Fuels You podcast, I'm here with John Cook and Todd Bishop, the co-founders of GeekWire. John and Todd have both been in the journalism industry for decades. They originally met at the Seattle PI and then went on to start TechFlash, a Puget Sound Business Journal website, before starting GeekWire in 2011. Today, GeekWire gets millions of monthly page views. They're also well known for hosting several signature events that bring thousands of people in the community together to connect, learn, and have fun. John and Todd continue to push the envelope in journalism, and I love watching them grow this technology news empire. Welcome, John and Todd. Yay, guys.
Thanks for having us.
It's a privilege.
I told these guys, for the listeners, that we have to get serious because usually when we hang, we just flip each other a lot of shit and it's fun. But we're going to start, as we always
Hopefully we do a little bit of that.
A little flipping shit. I'm going to start by flipping you shit that you're both wearing T-shirts of like outdated companies with like holes in them. I love
Teach
it.
Street.
Wait,
Dave Chappelle, shout out to Teach Street. Yes.
Mine, I don't have holes. It's just faded.
Faded.
This is my fashion
Keeping
statement.
it real, nice and gritty. Okay, so John, starting with you, rapid fire. Are you ready for me?
I am. Hit me.
Okay, leader you most admire. Rapid fire.
Oh, boy. That is a stumper. Todd, help me out.
Oh, you're stumped on the
Well, you
first.
might-
I'm stumped
No,
on the
don't-
first rapid fire.
You
Didn't you
can't
listen to the
cheat.
podcast?
I
and
did,
know-
but I didn't. That wasn't one of. That wasn't one on
You
the bread
can't
fry. I was
cheat.
just waiting for baked potato
You
or mashed
can't
potato.
cheat off of
Come
Todd.
on, that's the only
okay,
thing.
on to the next. Greatest soccer player. John, did you have coffee?
I
that's
mean-
We need
an
to give you
insight. He
something.
doesn't drink coffee.
What, can we give you
Yes.
like a rip of something? Like,
Yeah.
what do you need?
Okay. Greatest soccer player. I'll go with Pele.
Okay. Best microbrewery.
I'll give a shout out to my neighbors and fantastic beer aficionados at Stoop in Ballard.
Oh, nice. I don't drink beer, but I will check that out. Take me for a beer there. Most fun GeekWire event that you obviously attended.
Well, probably if you like dancing, it's the GeekWire Gala.
Okay,
Yeah.
you dancing takes it up a level.
I
Oh
like
my
to
God.
dance.
Have you not
I like
seen
to
this?
Oh,
dance.
no, I have.
Yeah.
That's my
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, I like to bust it out
Okay,
occasionally. Yeah.
so this is for you. Strangest thing you've ever done.
Wow, Shauna.
The questions for Brent Fry were much easier. It was
I
baked
know.
potato or mashed potato. That's what I was
That's
ready.
because he's an Idaho guy.
I know. Okay. Well, strangest
Or wait,
thing
Iowa.
I've ever
Wait, now I'm
done.
confused.
I don't know.
He is Idaho.
It's
Todd,
Idaho.
give me something. You probably know me better. What's something strange I've done?
Okay, strange quirk. You guys work together. What's one of his quirks?
So John loves to work
In the dark?
prone on the couch in his office with his laptop on his stomach and his head propped up by a pillow. He does some of his best work in that.
Like in a compromising neck position?
It kind of
Well,
the
I actually-
chiropractors would not approve.
Actually, I had them take a look when I was having back problems, and they said it was actually not that.
It's more like neck
not,
issues.
It's not that bad of a problem.
I'm more
so.
thinking as cosmetic. Like you're going to have wrinkles on your neck. How pathetic is that? That's where my head went. Not that
I'll
you're
live
carrying,
with it. It's
clearly
all right.
with your ripped t-shirt.
I'll keep thinking about leader I most admire.
I love it.
Yeah,
Okay,
sorry.
so favorite movie of all time?
Gosh, I like all sorts of movies.
What kind
That
of
is-
movie do you gravitate toward?
Oh, I'm not a big sci-fi person, but anything outside of that, I watch a lot of documentaries now.
Yeah.
That would be very hard to pinpoint.
Yeah, you're sucking at rapid
I
fire.
really suck at
I was
rapid
going to say,
fire. This
if someone on
I've
the other
seen
end
you
of
on
an
your
interview,
feet.
yeah,
I've seen you on your toes, usually
Well,
at these
why didn't
events.
Todd go first?
Well, I don't
Yeah.
know. Okay, introvert or extrovert?
oh my
Extrovert.
God,
See, that's an easy one. Extrovert.
Okay, good. You get an A+ for the last
Yeah.
question. Okay, Todd, let's see how you do.
okay, all
God,
right.
that sucked.
Okay, Todd, quality you most admire in others.
Honesty, brutal honesty.
Okay.
It's tough, but I ultimately admire it after I yell at them.
Okay, proudest GeekWire moment.
We just had a fantastic
Maybe it's
moment
right
in the
now.
newsroom. In the newsroom, we just had a great moment. Monica Nicholsberg on our team got a fantastic scoop by working her sources for more than a year, developing relationships. She found out before anybody else that Amazon is moving thousands of employees out of Seattle to Bellevue. And we were just listening on KUOW in the newsroom as Bill Radke quizzed and tried to pin down Mayor Jenny Durkin on the topic. And she squirmed away and said it was a good thing. And I was like, yeah, you're driving the agenda. I mean, that is what journalism is about. It's uncovering facts that people need to know and informing the public and really driving the conversation. That was cool. I don't know if that's the coolest moment ever, but it just happened.
I want to continue with rapid fire, but I did have a moment in the bathroom before I came in, and I realized that I would suck at your job. I would like the curious part of your job, but I would be so concerned with people liking me that I would be scared to write dirt on someone, that they would be mad at me. And it seems like you guys, no, I feel like everyone loves you guys. It's
That's not true.
That's not true.
That's not true.
Well, if everybody loves us, we're not doing our jobs.
In fact, some people have hated us both over the years. And over time, what's been interesting is some of our best sources are those people that once hated us.
Yes. So they come around over time.
Oh, interesting.
Just through sheer persistence and longevity.
They get to know you?
They're like, hey, they're going to stick around and they're probably going to do this thing. So we might as well work with them.
It's a fine line
I'm giving you
a
really easy one, a very soft one.
Todd's getting all these
favorite candy.
Oh, my God. Oh, I love coffee nips.
I love coffee nips.
Coffee
too.
nips, yeah.
Oh my God.
They make me flash back to Casa Lupe Mexican restaurant in Hamilton City, California.
I love all candy. And I feel like you and I share a love of sugar.
Yes.
So I had to ask that one. Favorite subject in school?
Oh, my God. Now, that is hard. That is hard. I loved band. I was big into band in school.
Really?
Biggest band nerd you ever saw with the sousaphone in the back.
Wait, what's a sousaphone?
It's a tuba.
Oh.
According to band nerds, that's what they would call it.
A tuba.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I loved band. I was on the high school paper, and I was
giving you another one that's easy.
All right.
I'm so sorry,
These are
John. Now I
simple.
feel
These
bad.
are very easy
Okay,
questions.
Mac or
yes.
PC?
It's a good question. I have, I'm kind of like the prodigal son to Windows. I have come back and would not go back to Mac at this point.
Interesting.
So the answer is PC.
Biggest pet peeve? I bet you John could answer this one for you. Maybe dishonest people.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sloppy emails.
Like
Sloppy
misspelled.
emails that are supposed to be professional, not personal.
So is it okay that I write mine in all
yes,
lowercase?
you're fine, Shauna.
XO?
It's mostly from others on the team.
Okay. Yeah, I don't like that either.
Yeah.
It's a huge pet peeve. Nighttime or morning time?
Oh, I'm an early riser. I worked at UPS in college. I worked the early shift, and I'm at my best at somewhere between 3 and 4 a.m. after about 6 hours sleep.
Literally?
Yeah.
Do you get a lot of sleep, John?
I do. My head hits the pillow and I'm out.
What time do you go to bed?
It fluctuates. I think last night I went to bed at 9:30.
Oh, my God. That's a dream. And when are you playing soccer? I know you're still playing a lot of soccer.
I got a game tonight, 7 p.m., GeekWire FC over 40. Come on out.
I want to come out just so I can watch.
No, it's pretty embarrassing. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah,
Is that all you do to stay in shape?
I walk a lot, bike occasionally, but soccer's my main thing.
Coach basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I got all the hard questions. Todd, leader you most admire?
That is hard.
Roger Federer.
Oh,
geez.
tennis. Nice. Shout out.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so give him another hard one.
Best movie of all time.
Shawshank Redemption.
Yes.
That's what I was actually going to say.
Amen.
See, I had listened to your previous one, and I had it queued up for Motto You Live By.
I mix them up.
I know you do, but I had Motto You Live By, and
What is the motto you live
it
by?
actually comes from Shawshank Redemption.
Which is what?
It's time to get busy living or get busy dying.
Good.
Oh, I really like that. I
Yeah.
might have to steal that.
Okay.
I don't think I knew that one. Okay, we're getting deep now.
Yes,
because
John.
I want to talk to you guys about your background.
You forgot the last question.
What was it? What fuels
What
you?
fuels you,
No,
Shauna?
I'm going to end it with that.
okay.
I'm mixing it up, guys.
Okay,
Like
all
going
right.
to the gym, muscle, memory. Okay, so here's what I want to know from you guys. At this stage, do you guys feel successful?
This is going to be really an interesting podcast because you're going to have the yin and yang.
Who's yin and who's yang?
I feel like we have accomplished much of what we set out to accomplish with GeekWire initially. If you look at our...
Did you have a business plan?
Oh, yeah.
And
In fact, I might
who
have a
helped
copy
you
of
with
it over
that?
there.
Oh, I'd
Yeah,
love
we had
to
a
see
business plan back at the Seattle PI.
In 2007.
that. Okay.
It's called Project Seabreeze.
Okay.
And
Interesting.
there's a whole story to that. But if you look at that business plan, if anything, we were just not ambitious enough. Like we've eclipsed what we laid out in that business plan by so much, it's crazy.
And
And we are not successful.
You don't feel successful yet, but John does. Is that
Yeah.
the yin part?
Yeah.
You're ready to chill?
He's
on
not.
the
No,
beach?
no,
I'm not
no.
ready to chill, but I think we have exceeded what we set out to, and I think what we've created in a really, really challenging business and media is unprecedented, and I'm proud of that.
You should be super proud of that. Geekwire is the go-to.
There's still a lot of work to
there's a
do.
lot.
As
No.
Jeff Bezos says, still day one.
It's
But
still day one.
Yep.
So you guys, I've only known you together, not that you're together, but as business partners. And so there seems to be a lot of chemistry. Is there also arguing behind the scenes?
yes.
Yeah.
Of course.
And who
we
wins?
are quite
Who
different.
wins?
We are quite different, which does, I think, they talk about co-founders and why that is important to have people with different skill sets. And I think that works in our
Well,
favor.
I know what lanes you're in as far as coverage of news content, but what about your lanes behind the scenes of running an actual business?
So functionally, John is in a role that in most media organizations traditionally would have been called publisher, much more business on the business side with some editorial oversight at a high level. And I'm much more in the editor role, day-to-day news, much more involved in the content. Although, to the extent that it's not a conflict, John jumps in and frankly, really helps a lot.
Yeah. And when you guys first met, I'm going to interrupt because that's what we have to do to
Please.
get through, so we're not here all day. But when you first met, was it like immediate chemistry? Like, hey,
No.
this is my people?
No. We were at the PI. No,
No, it's true. No.
No, it's not. So we were at the PI,
We were friendly and we worked
Yeah.
well together.
but John was very intense. I was in a 4-person cubicle facing in at each other at the PI with Dan Richman, who was extremely intense and was in the middle of the Microsoft antitrust case. I remember Dan at that time, and I don't think he actually introduced himself to me for a month. Bottom line, we didn't really connect initially on a. And in fact,
I was Todd's biggest advocate, though, to bring him to the PI.
That is true.
I did think he had a lot of promise, and I was really pushing hard for him versus another reporter that was being considered.
and John, and that was a good decision. And John,
Nice work,
John tried to convince me that when the Microsoft beat came up, I shouldn't take it.
I read about that. And then he had tremendous respect for you because you pushed back and pursued it anyway.
Yeah, which therein was the pattern that we would follow.
The push-pull.
Yeah.
And so are there times now, I guess you started at 2011, now we're 2019, where you feel uncomfortable at events, nervous, anxious?
Oh, God, yeah.
Still nervous in an interview?
Depends on who it is.
Who makes you nervous?
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates, Satya Nadella, Steve Ballmer. I guess all 3 Microsoft CEOs make me
But
super nervous.
You cannot tell. You rock it.
Oh, no,
You're
that's
so
not true.
articulate. Really?
No, the way my nerves come out is that I'm way too serious, and that's been my biggest trick, my biggest insight and lesson over the past few years in talking to people like Bill Gates is like, you got to go in and you got to do something different.
And this is a little bit of, you're talking about the differences. This is a big difference between Todd and me. Todd cares so much, and he's a perfectionist. And I have a little bit of,
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. And what's the worst thing that can happen,
Yeah.
And so that sort of
Do you feel that way because you
balance
kind
is
of
good for us.
arrived, or did you feel that way day one?
I just don't care as much about what people think about me.
John is very good at being present in the moment, and I don't mean a day to day, but I mean like he appreciates the position he is in right now and what he is getting from life at the moment. And yes, he aspires for more, but he's also okay with where he is.
Yeah.
Is that fair
That's
to
true.
say?
Yeah,
And I'm
very
not.
true.
I'm completely uncomfortable.
Well, maybe you're an anxious person is my guess, and you're not. It just comes down to that a little bit.
a little bit.
I wouldn't classify myself as
calm.
calm. I don't think
Well,
most people
calm
would
in- calm
call
in
me
your-
calm person.
You're content with yourself.
That's great. Where does that come from? This is where we get deep.
Oh,
Is that from your mom or your dad?
Both. Yeah.
Because I've heard you talk about your mom.
Yeah.
So you were raised in a just very stable home?
My parents battled, but they were together and very independent, strong-willed individuals who had a lot of work ethic and drive. Mm-hmm.
And
I
do you
think that rubbed
they're
off.
proud of you?
Of course. I mean, my mom was a journalist, for God's sake.
I know.
So, I kind
yeah.
of followed right in her footsteps. So
I love that.
yeah, we could share a lot of good moments
And
about
if you
what we were doing.
If you weren't doing this, what do you think you'd be doing, John?
I don't know. I do love media. So I think telling stories and being in the mix on convening the community is something that I love to do. So probably something still within that realm.
Mm-hmm. And is it hard for you to see where the media has gone and kind of fake news?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a whole nother discussion topic. That one really came out of the blue for me. I did not see that coming.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that there was a certain percentage of the population that was being manipulated by propaganda, but I just didn't realize how bad it was. And it's bad and it's scary for our country and for democracy, and I'm very worried about that.
I am too. I went to the movie Like last night at the Merson High School. It's about Facebook and Instagram and kind of the influence. It's IndieFlix has put it on. And I came home a little scared and anxious. Speaking of anxious, so Todd, tell me about.
But that plays into our business to some degree. Is that Todd and I are old school journalists and believe in journalism being done a certain way, and we're going to go to our graves believing in that in terms of our model and what's going to resonate. Now, over the last 10 years, things have gotten out of whack with the rise of social media, propaganda, the TV news media that's really just kind of parroting certain viewpoints. And we've gotten away from a lot of the journalistic tradition, which we think is really important. We hope that it cycles back and that we'll be very well positioned for when people do actually want to trust the media sources that they read or consume.
I think it's starting to. I think people are getting sick of it. And even my kids talk about it.
The flip side of it is not a good situation.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely not. So, Todd, tell me more about you. I don't know much about your family because I want to just go back to that, but I have a lot to say.
So we do argue, and I will say that.
Why did you go back to that point?
Because I had more to say on that.
That was like 3 minutes ago.
It's like a husband-wife situation. Honey, we already covered that.
Yeah.
On to the next.
No, we argue, but I would say that especially in the last 2 to 3 years, John is very good at being humble and acknowledging when he's done something that might not have been exactly what should have been done, and I've learned from that. But John has a specific approach with me that I didn't know he was doing until I think we might have been out drinking one night and you sort of explained it to me.
Dang, I let it slip.
And
shouldn't have.
What
is it?
It works.
What is it? He's like the Todd whisperer.
He rope-a-dopes me. Do you know what I mean?
That?
It's a Muhammad Ali boxing technique.
You want to explain it, John?
Rope-a-dope? Like you put him in a corner?
You want to explain it or me?
You go ahead.
Well, in the classic fight, I think it was the Rumble in the Jungle or the Thrilla in Manila, I think Muhammad Ali was up against George Foreman, who was this big, powerful puncher who could just throw these giant punches. And Muhammad Ali was this fast, quick-moving boxer, and he just let Foreman pound him for about 8 rounds. Pound him. And he pounded him so hard that he punched his way out and ran out of steam. And at that point, Muhammad Ali kicked into gear with his quick movement and took care of business. So
I'm following that, but I'm trying to picture the
I let him pound me for a while until he can't pound anymore, and I just keep my mouth shut.
And then you get exhausted?
And then I'm done, and he does what he wants to do. Does what he wants to do.
Yeah,
he does it anyway.
And lets it go.
That is so
I feel
awesome.
bad. I feel a little guilty, and then he takes advantage of that.
Hey, but the one thing about it is, I mean, when you do have a co-founder, you do one of the benefits of it is that you do have somebody that you can go to vent and sound off like that.
Yeah.
So I feel like it is an important role to have, and I do it sometimes too, maybe not to the extent Todd does.
And so you guys had a business model. I'm all over the place as usual, but you had a business model. Did you have a hey, this is the type of culture we want to create? Because the other thing I thought about as I'm walking in is that
you give this a lot of thought.
No, it's not that. It's that I walked in, and so I saw some familiar faces, and I realized that I know a lot of your team, and they've been around. You've either added, but you don't really lose people. You've had a really strong culture here. Was that something? You guys are so proud. There's smiling happening. You can't see.
We do have a strong culture, and it's a small team.
People are loyal,
and we have a good core group of people that are extremely loyal and that fit in really well here and do well. That's not to say that.
So have you been conscious about a culture or your values or what matters?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it's very much driven from our early state, our growing up, both in small communities, Todd in California, myself in Ohio, where it was important to be a important part of that community, and I think that is something that is very key to our success at GeekWire. But also a lot is born out of our roots out of traditional, hard-charging daily newspaper reporting when we were at the smaller Seattle PI competing against the bigger Seattle Times. And we were kind of hardcore beat reporters chasing stories. And we moved pretty hard and fast. And I think that's part of our culture as well.
I love it.
Yeah, in a small town, you are accountable. You can't do something.
Hide.
No, you can't do something on the weekend with your buddies and assume your parents aren't going to find out about it. And I think that it translates into our values here. And we do. We have 7 core values. Can you name all 7 of them, John?
You're going to quiz me?
Don't ask me
that's
to
boring
name
for our
mine.
listeners.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, at any rate.
They're probably the same with integrity and accountability and.
No, those aren't there. No, I'm just kidding. No, we don't care about those. We don't care about those things. No.
But we have been purposeful about it. I don't think we were from the beginning. I think at the beginning we were just moving so fast that we didn't think about those things.
And who came up with the name?
GeekWire?
Mm-hmm.
We all did. Yeah, we had
Do you remember the moment? Where you're like, that's the
no.
moment.
I mean, that we had a long brainstorm on, and it went on for
Too long.
A couple of weeks as we were thinking it through. And
But you got the name.
We spent more time on that. We did have to pay a little bit of money, not too much, but a little bit of money for the name. But I remember some of the original names that we were talking about.
I love the name GeekWire.
You do? Because do you like it
love
better
it.
than Geek Crack? Because that was one we had talked about.
Hey now.
And then we did a lot of things with the
Geek
needle.
Crack.
We wanted to say Seattle, but not say Seattle in the name. So we had a lot of things with
That would've
needle,
been
which
bad.
was
Terrible.
No
bueno.
In hindsight.
And that would not have been good.
GeekWire is exactly what it should be.
And the name is very much rooted in who we are. I mean, the geek is obviously speaking to this idea that
the tuba player?
It's the tuba. It is. I mean, we believe that people can be geeky about a lot of things. Of course, we focus very much on technology, but we think people can be geeks about health or aerospace or software or whatever. And so
it's like a knowledge seeker.
Yeah, exactly. So it encompasses a lot of things. And the wire it has a little bit of a sharp edge, so it's not afraid to poke. And also kind of harkens to our news days as the news wire. We want to be there on a daily stream providing what's happening.
Yeah. And so you guys have both kind of described yourselves as geeks when you were younger. I don't even know what a geek is.
I think, a geek to me is somebody who's obsessively passionate about figuring stuff
like
out.
geeking out on something.
Yeah.
Are the people that grew up with you from Orland and Worcester, are they still in your life?
Oh, yeah.
You're like have your high school buddies?
They followed. John had like dozens follow him here.
Those are my best pals.
Those
still
are your
to this
buds.
day.
Oh, yeah, thanks,
I love that.
Yeah.
You're
they're
make
really
new friends.
really core group of friends that are still very tight.
And so are they surprised by your success, or it was like, this is who John was in high school?
I don't think that's something we've ever talked about.
Well, you know those kids, like, did you get most likely to anything?
No. I felt I was one of the dumbest kids in my class.
I think that probably was true, knowing your friends. I mean, seriously.
I thought you were saying that I was the dumbest kid. I wasn't. But
he's got smart friends.
No, it's a high bar. I mean, I think about some of the positions that your friends are in here in Seattle. I mean, that was some quality schooling, as we would say.
So you both went to college studying history and business and journalism for you.
Yep.
So you obviously knew at a young age what you wanted to kind of be when you grew up.
For sure.
Think about how many people you know that are like our age that are still trying to figure it out. How blessed do we all feel that we found our careers early?
Isn't that cool?
I think it's amazing to be able to say that. I've been doing mine for 25 years, you guys also. A long time.
About that time, yeah.
We're all dating ourselves.
Yeah.
When do you feel like you first discovered your fuel? Was there a moment that you were like, I know?
I remember the exact moment, the precise moment.
Am I the first one to ask you this, or do you get asked all the time?
I bring it up if people don't ask.
Okay. I'm glad. I want new content.
The Orland High School Trojans were playing the Willows High School Honkers in the homecoming basketball game. It was canceled.
This is
I was the
amazing.
sports editor for the Orland High School Oracle paper. The game was canceled because for some inexplicable reason, the floor was slick. And so I decided that I was going to solve this mystery. And I broke the story. I found the janitor who had unthinkingly sprayed the Armor All on the pads on the ends of the court that was then tracked across the floor, thereby dashing the dreams of the Orland High School varsity hoops team. And I remember the moment.
This is so awesome.
This is so good.
This is so funny.
I remember the moment when the paper, like a week later, was delivered. Canceled game poses a slick question. And
no. Great headline.
I love that you
that's my headline.
That's
Yeah.
a
Oh my
great
God.
headline.
I wish I still had this.
Frame it.
Yeah.
I think I might still have this. Anyway,
you got to get that.
I remember walking across campus and seeing that people were reading it because it answered a question that they had that they would not have known otherwise.
Awesome.
And that is fundamentally what we are still doing. Like 25, 30 years later,
you're still doing.
Figuring stuff out that people don't know. You're being smart and creative about it, and you're potentially making somebody lose his job. Because I think that Floyd was gone the next year, and I'm pretty sure that I was responsible.
Wow. And so who I know for John, your mom was a big influence because I've heard you talk about that. But Todd, who influenced you along the way? Did you have any mentors?
Well, my dad and my mom, for sure. My mom was a kindergarten teacher, and one of the great things about my mom is that she did this late in life. She went back and became a teacher late in life. My dad is a businessman and has his own wholesale souvenir business. His business for many years was Bigfoot souvenirs that he sold to resorts in Northern
really
California.
Cool. So unique.
He's a hustler. My dad hustles. He's creative.
Which one are you more like?
My dad. Well, my wife would tell you that I'm more like my mom.
Yeah.
In good and bad ways. My mom listens to every podcast, so I'm sitting here thinking of my words carefully. But seriously.
Love you, Mommy.
No, but I've gotten good and bad qualities from both of them, but for my mom, mostly the good.
Well, as a mom, I would say I would be very proud if Max turned out like either one of you. So I'm sure your
You're
mom
too nice.
is very proud.
Except for the shirts.
Except for John.
Except for the fashion sense.
Except for the no, that's okay. That says it doesn't matter. It's not a value.
But John's dad, Roger, also small businessman. So I think the fact that we both grew up around that, with moms who were perhaps a little more creative, and dads who were very into creativity through business, I would say, for my dad. I think that resonates with both of us, and the small town thing.
Nice. What brought you both to Seattle?
I have an older brother who lives here, and so followed in his footsteps. Lived on his back porch for the first year in Capitol Hill. Yes, it was one of those enclosed back porches where the bed was, it was slanted at an angle, so we had to have some bricks that held up one part of the bed, and had 8 blankets on me. So. Did you
experience the Seattle freeze?
Yes, I absolutely experienced it right off the bat, even back then. So that was like 95, 96 time frame.
Yeah.
Had like a dozen jobs and worked at the Harvard Exit movie theater, making popcorn and taking tickets, and worked down at Mount Rainier. So I did a lot of different random things.
Very cool.
Yeah.
How about you, Todd?
I came here in 2000 because my girlfriend at the time got a job at the State Court of Appeals after she graduated from law school in New Jersey.
How did you like it when you first got here?
Oh, I loved it. I immediately loved it. And the cool thing was I had been working at the Philadelphia Business Journal, and I was able to get a transfer to the Puget Sound Business Journal. And so I came in as a general assignment reporter, and then the commercial real estate beat opened up at the PSBJ, which is their marquee beat. I mean, that is like their centerpiece beat. And I was able to basically learn about Seattle in the course of doing that job over 2 years.
Yeah, you probably know more about Seattle than I do, and I'm from here.
That's not true.
And so is there a moment, kind of the first time something blew up for you? I've only known you guys as ass-kicking GeekWire boys.
Well, for me, this past year was extremely tough, 2018. I lost my mom. The business had gotten to the point where we'd stretched ourselves really thin, and we were struggling with that.
Yeah, work-life balance type of stuff.
Yeah.
But even beyond that, taking on so much as a business and then individually that it was impacting the business, not just us.
Right. And so was there a solution?
We're still working on it. I mean, the answer is yes. And we've taken a series of steps, just even small things internally, saying no to projects, ending projects that don't meet our criteria. I mean, I would say, bottom line, we've gotten much more disciplined about what we do.
Yeah.
As a result of that. Is crisis too strong of a word?
In terms of problems that startups go through, having covered thousands of them over the years, I think we've been able to navigate the course pretty well. So, I mean, that's a perspective that I come at this with. But, last year was tough. Yeah, the business was still growing strong, great readership, just discipline around kind of our core audience and core loyal audience, I think is the key thing.
I'm really super curious. Like, what do you mean? Where did you go and where are you trying to come back to?
Experiments with video and podcasts that were maybe taking us a little bit outside of our realm, rather than focusing on the core beat reporting of what we are really, really good at.
But your podcast is really good.
Our main podcasts, I think.
Yeah, and
good.
we've stretched, and there's distinguishing between quality and then attracting a large audience. There's a whole different discussion there. But we do have our main podcast. We've tried over the years to extend into different podcast areas, and they're not always central to our expertise. And so it can be difficult. Even if it is ultimately good, it's not necessarily good for the larger organization.
Yeah. It's a little bit like, this is fun, but like, what's the ROI and what's the purpose? And time is so limited. And then you both have kids. So how have you changed as dads? You each have one, right? Boy and a girl.
Gosh, how have I changed? Well, learning a lot. I mean, we've kind of have two startups going on in my life that are about the same age, my son and GeekWire, and certainly learning as I'm going on both of them.
How old is James?
He's 9.
Little man.
And Maggie is 8.
And Maggie's 8.
Yep,
so you guys have kids right around the same age.
Yep. And
That's
right
a
about the same time we founded
age.
GeekWire. So they've grown up right alongside the business.
Yeah. And what do they think that you do for a living?
From about 4 to 6, my daughter thought I worked for Microsoft, which is not what you want a journalist's daughter to say. But I would always have like Microsoft stuff around, and we'd always be talking about Microsoft. This was not a comment, I hope, on my objectivity, but that's what she thought for many years.
She thought that you worked at Microsoft. And what about you? What does James think, John?
He's pretty savvy. I mean, I think he understands entrepreneurship and media and journalism. So I've from a very early age, my parenting tactic and style with James was always just talk to him like a normal kid, and there's no real taboo subject. Just if there's a topic that's coming up, you just talk about it and you try to be as open about it as you can. So he's pretty knowledgeable and worldly as it relates to what we do. He thinks it's super cool that we get like access to Niantic, the makers of Pokemon, or that we have Xboxes laying around here sometimes.
Well, and I've seen them at events before. They must be like, this is so cool.
Some of the events he just goes crazy over.
Well,
he loves it.
Like ping pong, I would imagine,
he loves that.
is kind of a fun
there's
one.
video games and a sumo wrestling and a zip line and
do you guys
crazy
have
stuff.
events that are your favorites? I mean, I've got mine. I love the GeekWire Awards.
I love the awards too.
I love the summit.
The main summit's our marquee event. Yeah,
it's so difficult, but the moments on stage when you've been working for 5, 6, 7 months to get one particular speaker up on there, and you finally got the speaker up there, and the interview's going well. Like
I loved that Kara Swisher. That was a highlight for me at the summit. So you guys have both described your parents as being big influences. Are there legacies or like messages that you consistently give your kids of like what you want them to think of when they think of you?
When they think of us.
Oh, I was going to think from Grandpa. It was really funny.
No, not from Grandpa, from you.
It filters through me. I mean, the lessons that my dad provided to me that now I'm providing to my son are it's just a straight line. So I will tell a story from Grandpa, who's kind of this hardened, ex-football coach type of guy from Ohio, who's he's a little
old school.
He's old school. Perfect description of him. But we were talking to a friend of my son's, and this friend was describing this situation the other day where he was playing baseball and he got ganged up on second base, and he was getting piled on, and someone was kicking him. And my son James said to him, he said, "You know what my grandpa would say about that? Suck it up."
Yeah.
And I just lost it, man. I was like, that is so great.
I love that. That is awesome.
Because I would imagine that you guys are both awesome dads.
No. I mean, speaking for myself, John,
this is a struggle. Parenting and running
John,
a startup together is a huge.
But John is really good at, and he's inspired me in some of these ways. So he, for example, when James turned 5 or 6, he figured out this elaborate thing with Star Wars. Like you guys walked around. Remember the
his
park?
Birthday party?
Yeah, John is
creates moments.
Yes, he's very good at that. I've looked at that and thought, wow, that is cool. And then I've gotten a little bit better at it over the years.
Well, I think you're either that type of person or you're not. You're probably that person at GeekWire also.
Well, I'm an event planner.
Yeah, you're creating moments at GeekWire also.
Yeah.
What I want to know is, I don't even know how old you guys are, but I would say that as life goes on and you're in your 20s and then 30s and then 40s, what fuels you changes, right, over time. Sometimes people are motivated by fear or angst or ambition or competition, What is it now? And what was it?
I can jump in first here because I've been thinking a lot about this. Creating the space for creativity for me personally. That is my big thing. The worst days that I have are the ones where I'm going from thing to thing to thing to thing. And don't get me wrong, I love that. That's the news business. But if I've got so many things going on that are unrelated to each other and I've got to switch from task to task to task, and I lose all sense of creativity. If I haven't produced something or helped one of our people produce something great every day, it's just not...
that makes so much sense.
Let me state it in the positive.
But this makes a lot of sense.
What fuels me is the ability to find the space for creativity.
Well, there's a lot of books
and
coming out on this right now, just about space.
Maybe I should write one.
You should write. Well, read one first.
Yeah, but then that would be against. That would be against.
Get more sleep too.
And get more sleep.
Yeah. But I think this speaks to the business challenge that we were running into in 2018 too, where we were getting stretched, where we weren't able to unleash Todd's creativity into the business the way that we needed to. And so as we've gone into 2019, we have addressed this in certain ways. We promoted Taylor Soper to managing editor to take some of the load off of So Do We.
Well, and Monica stepped up a lot too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, we've got a great team. And I think the key is when we can have Todd not struggling on those day-to-day tasks as much as he is and thinking more creatively about the business. It's great.
Feel most creative?
Between 3 and 4 in the morning. I've got the entire day ahead of me. Nobody online pinging me. That's why I get up so early.
So do you have rituals?
I mean, I listen to the podcast. I listen to the daily podcast every morning. I sit in my oversized easy chair, which has traveled with me through,
I'm sure your wife loves that.
She loves it that it's in my own room now.
Yeah.
My own office at home. Anyway, but nothing out of the ordinary.
Coffee?
Sure.
Meditation?
No, that would be good. I've talked about that.
Exercise?
I do. I've got an exercise bike in my office, and I've got my little setup. I find little ways to make things work for me.
Yeah. What about you, John? Do you have any rituals, like ways of living?
No.
Every day is different.
Every day is different. Every day is. I grew up with 2 older brothers, and I thrive in chaos. I like chaos. And it's really the reason why I think I'm good in a startup environment and not a kind of process-oriented, bigger company environment, because life at the Cook household when I was growing up was chaotic and competitive and crazy.
I could talk to you guys all day long. I have so many more questions, but I also want to be mindful of your time.
We love chatting.
The ultimate, Todd really answered this, the what fuels you question. What fuels you? Like, what really fuels you outside of GeekWire? In life?
Oh gosh, that wasn't the answer?
Well, I mean, it's creating, I guess, could be what fuels you.
I give a lot of thought to this. This is just within the last 3 months, just like everybody does. The key people in your lives, the key people, like if there were, 5 or 6 people who you would say, okay, those are my people,
Yeah.
Your business partner, your wife, your daughter, your dad, your mom, those types of people.
Yeah.
And like too often I focus my attention on people outside of that sphere. Mm-hmm. And not that I would ignore people outside of that sphere, but in terms of really
they might
working
get the best
on
of
it.
You.
Yeah, really working on it and make it. That's a great point, because a lot of times those are the people who get the worst of me.
Of course. And then you realize you're so polite and so nice and so generous. And then the person in your life gets the like, ugh. part of you.
Absolutely.
But I call it my safe space.
I like figuring stuff like that out and then struggling with it and then ultimately having that realization improve your life. I really get into that. I've been getting into that kind of stuff more and more
Are you
lately.
reading anything good or any nuggets you can share with our listeners of, gosh, I really got a lot out of this?
Yeah. There's a book called The Art. You're going to laugh at this. I think it's the Art of Nonviolent Conflict. I can't. It's something along those lines.
Sean's like, I actually want to kick your ass.
No, that's not right. It's not. It's nonviolent. You're going to say it's ironic that I'm very nonviolent communication. That's what it is.
Why is he a violent communicator?
He can be.
Oh my gosh.
Not like physically
like
violent.
F-bombs?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. I'm learning so much.
He can have a short fuse.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, big time.
I wouldn't want to see that side.
Things build up and build up and build up and then explode.
But I thought that was your strategy, that you let him do the foreman punch.
I do.
Well,
I do.
No.
Yeah.
To distinguish
Once it
between those
explodes,
things.
then I do the rope-a-dope.
So
I wouldn't do the rope-a-dope. I'd be crying in the corner.
My cycle is I keep things inside. It builds up. I overreact and then feel guilty, and then I keep it inside. It builds. I overreact, and that's my cycle.
Yeah. Why do you keep stuff inside? Why not just say it? You like honesty. You like honesty. You care what people think too much.
He does. He's too
I'm the
polite
same
and
way.
friendly.
I'm the same way. You better give it. Just start practice on John. Practice on me.
Well,
Just
He
give it
practices
straight.
on me all the time.
well, radical candor is what book that we've been reading, both of us, and listening to Kim Scott's podcast.
Yeah.
And that is one cool thing about John, and he helps me with that, is he is a learner, and he will often, like just this weekend, he sent unsolicited story to Kara Coleman and myself. And, we struggle a little bit with burnout, all three of us do, and he's shared his like, hey, here's the article. By the way, these are the 3 takeaways.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And so you've gotten a lot of compliments from Todd. I haven't heard any. Like, what are you learning from
Oh
Todd?
no, you come on,
John.
Todd
what's-
is Todd
tell
is
us.
a very, very, very nice person on
Really?
the podcast. No, I'm just kidding. No, I love working with Todd. We work really well together. As I said, we are very different. He brings a perfectionist mindset to the business, to journalism. I mean, he is an extremely talented journalist in terms of his the way he thinks about stories and approaches them. It doesn't surprise me. The high school story he said with this great headline on it from way back in the day. I mean, he's been doing that for 25 years. And so I think it's really kind of the special sauce of GeekWire.
Do you look at everything before it goes out? I mean, that's impossible.
No, you can't do it anymore.
Yeah, that's impossible.
That last comment that you just said is not true.
Having your touch on the editorial content is the special sauce of GeekWire.
So the GeekWire would
is.
not exist if not for John.
And it wouldn't exist if not for Todd.
That's not true.
But you
can
got
do it on your own. That was a
You need to have.
Talk about burnout. He'd really be burnt out. He'd probably be like.
I'm a big believer in having a co-founder.
Oh gosh, we would not. I could not imagine getting through the things we've gotten through.
Right.
It's
without each other.
Oh god.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And
agree
so,
with
John,
that.
what?
And it wouldn't be where it is today. Wouldn't be half of what it is.
I love it. I love watching the growth and the impact. It's incredible. What fuels
really?
you, John?
Incredible. I don't think it's incredible. I disagree with that.
You guys are on the inside. I'm on the outside. I met you and it was like, I mean, I told you your office was like a dump.
It's still pretty modest.
No, I mean, it's modest, but I was literally like, we need a female touch of some sort. There was no couch. There was no.
Well, now we have a beautification committee.
Well, that's great.
Takes care of things.
And I'm
Clearly.
on it.
You're on the beautification.
And I have nothing to do with it.
The guy with no holes in his shirt.
That's right.
Good. Stay beautiful, Todd.
Go back to the what fuels you,
what
because that's the best part.
fuels you, John? What fuels you?
I get a lot of energy. I mean, it gets back to my extroverted nature. I get a lot of energy being around people.
And so you're fueled by
personal relationships. It's kind of building off what Todd was saying about having those core people in your life and being true to them and having those be extremely meaningful relationships. And I get a lot out of that.
I love it. Well, you're great. You guys are both great with people, and I feel lucky to call you friends. I'm assuming that anybody who's listening to this podcast already knows www.geekwire.com. What else do we want to share?
If you're listening to a podcast, I would recommend checking out the GeekWire podcast. One of the cool things for me over the past year is that I've been able to get John out of his office onto the show. And, that's how it started. It's a great way for us to just connect. Some of our best story ideas literally come on the podcast because we're just talking to each other.
Yeah, you're like, oh, creating the space to create.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So, John, Todd, this has been so much fun. And for our listeners and for the community, we want to know, where are you going to be in the next 2-3 years? What can we see from GeekWire?
We are right now in the process of really looking closely at the things that we do that not only generate engaged, passionate audience, but a large audience, loyal, the things that really provide value. There are some very specific things that we do that we know provide very specific value, things like our GeekWire 200 index. And we're looking at what works about them, about those things, and how we can improve them, and then what characteristics of those things we can apply to new ideas. And I'd say right now we are trying to double down on what makes GeekWire and really get back to the roots of what got us here in the first place. And I would hope that in 2 to 3 years that the people in the community would see that and start to see that manifest itself in just a really concentrated dose of good stuff.
Mm-hmm. And how do you measure it?
There's a metric in analytics that's loyal audience. That's one. I will say the post-event surveys are one of the most difficult and valuable things that we can spend time on, listening to and reading what people really thought. The candor is very valuable.
Yeah. How about you, John?
I think in 2 to 3 years, I want GeekWire to be a stronger force in the community. I think we have really an opportunity as media shrinks around us, and there aren't as many places to find high quality journalism, that we can step up and have that brand really be meaningful as it relates to telling stories and being a connection point for people in the community. So I think we're very much on that path, but I think there's so much more we could do in terms of engaging new components of the community.
Well, we look forward to it. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thanks, Shauna.
Thank you for listening to the What Fuels You podcast. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes, Google Podcasts, or Spotify, and follow us on social media to keep up with the latest news and episodes. You can also contact us at podcast@fueltalent.com to provide feedback, ask questions, and share topics or guests you would like us to cover in the future. We hope you feel inspired by our guests and that we have helped fuel your day. Join us next time for another episode of What Fuels You.